Hello. I'm here with my monthly look at the previews catalog from Diamond Distribution. This is April 2024. Gonna jump right into it. First off, the Marvel and the DC stuff. Marvel had a couple oddities, including a Dazzler Omnibus, but nothing I really felt like looking at closely. DC. I don't know that there's much of interest in here either, but I at least took the time to write a couple things down. Just this one, actually. Swamp Thing by Nancy Collins Omnibus, 2024 edition. So it already came out maybe a couple years ago. I haven't read this stuff since I was, 14, 15 years old, but I was reading Swamp Thing when she was writing it. I enjoyed it. Scott Eaton and Kim DeMolder were the artists, amongst others, but they were the main art team, and they had a nice, kind of Vertigo style. Anyway, just thought I'd mention it. It's interesting to me that it got another edition. That seems very strange to me. Nancy A. Collins was a best-selling writer at one point, though. She had a vampire novel, Sunglasses After Dark, that was pretty well regarded. Not really familiar with her otherwise, so and I'm sure she must have written some other comics, but Swamp Thing is the only thing that I know her from. So anyway, thought I'd mention it. An omnibus is a large investment for someone who might just be curious. I would say check out the back issues, which you can find for almost nothing. That's what I did. I didn't buy the omnibus. I just spent a few bucks and completed my run from when I was a teenager. So into the catalog. Let's see what we got here. I'm always interested to see how many pages it takes before I get to the first thing I think is worth writing down. I don't always say that on here, but this time it was 160 pages, which seemed like a lot, but probably not a record. So, from Image Comics, Precious Metal #1. This is a prequel to Little Bird, a miniseries written by Darcy Van Poelgeest and art by Ian Bertram. Ian Bertram's the reason I think anybody really cares about this series. I won't pick up the singles. I'll just wait for the collection. Looks like it's a 6-issue miniseries. $5.99 per issue. It's 56 pages, which is pretty damn hefty. Don't know if they're all going to be that size, but anyway, Ian Bertram's a pretty amazing mainstreamish artist. More up my alley is Friday Book 3 by Ed Brubaker and Marcus Martin. I think this is the final chapter, which I was bummed about when I heard. I could read 50 volumes of this series. I really, really enjoyed the first two. Spoken to a couple other people who really enjoyed them. So even if you're not a big Brubaker person, I feel like this one really is a little bit different. If you read Encyclopedia Brown books when you were a kid, might be up your alley. And Marcos Martin's art is lovely, no surprise. Grizz Grobus by Simon Roy. This was a Kickstarter book. I have a friend who read this and enjoyed it. Did a little tiny review of it in, I think, Canon #2. Anyway, Simon Roy's an interesting artist. I don't know that I'll pick it up, but maybe if I find it used someday. Another Brubaker, so 2 Brubakers in 1 month. Houses of the Unholy. This is him and Sean Phillips for the umpteenth time. I feel like maybe the fawning online has decreased with Brubaker, but I also believe their sales just continue to be very strong, so it's a little bit of dissonance there. I always enjoy Brubaker Phillips. Even their less impressive stuff is still solidly entertaining, so I'm always happy to see another book from them. Here's a resolicited book from a few months ago. Quest Volume 1. art and writing by Jonathan Luna, co-written by Crystal Wood. I enjoyed the Luna brothers years ago, so I followed the individual brothers as they've done other stuff. Haven't enjoyed any of those individual works as much as the ones they did together, but they're still guys I keep an eye on. Also, I haven't been picking these up. Savage Dragon, The Ultimate Collection, Volume 3. This gets you up through issue 35. So they're 400-page books. Nice big 8.5 by 11 hardcovers. I bet the art looks great. It's just one of those things where I just don't need this stuff in another format. But I bet they're awesome looking books for anyone who has the slightest interest. There is also a new issue of Savage Dragon, though. Looks like maybe I didn't write down the correct page number. Here it is. Savage Dragon 271. Yeah, there you go. You either care or you don't. And I think at this point, most people don't. Now skipping ahead about 100 pages. The next thing that caught my eye from Cartoon Books, Thorn, the complete Proto-Bone college strips from 1902 to 1986 and other early drawings by Jeff Smith. This is a 9 by 12 book, nice size, 304 pages, only $30, which is actually a pretty good price for something that size. This was a Kickstarter. I don't do many Kickstarters anymore, but I backed this one because I trust that it will be fulfilled and they'll do a great job on it. I'm a Jeff Smith guy. I love all of his work. I'm excited to see some of this stuff. I think there was a collection of these many years ago, and those books go for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. So I have never seen that stuff. I'm really looking forward to seeing these in a nice presentation. I'm sure they will do a great job on them. From Cinebook, 4 releases this month, which is pretty big. Amazonia, Volume 1. So this is after Kenya and Namibia. So this is another series set in the same world. I'm not familiar with either of those series, but written by Rodolphe and Leo. Art by Bertrand Marchal. There you go. Don't know much to say about it. Michel Vaillant, Legendary Races, Volume 2, A Driver's Soul, by Denise Lapierre and Vincent Dutreuil. I'm sure I'm butchering these French names. My apologies to all French speakers worldwide. I got the first book of this. Haven't read it yet, but it looks like a lot of fun. I'll probably read it before I pull the trigger on another one, but interesting to see. Cool genre that you just don't see in comics, so race car drivers. This is the one that really stood out to me, though. Lucky Luke by Bluch. I'm not sure if it's Bluch or Bluch. Untamed. For those people who've never heard of Bluch, he's one of the most highly regarded cartoonists in the world. He's had a handful of books translated into English, but not very many. If you're familiar with Craig Thompson's style, you're probably pretty familiar with Bluch, because that's kind of where Thompson got it. And so here he is doing a Lucky Luke book. So I'm pretty excited to see this. I'm not a huge Bluch fan of the books I have of his, but his talent is undeniable. So I would love to see more of his work, considering how well regarded he is. And then the last thing from Cinebook, Rin Tin Can, Volume 2, The Godfather, written by Jean Leturgie and Xavier Fauch. Art is by Morris. Morris, I believe, is also the Lucky Luke guy, so this is another series. Yeah, kind of a dog comic. From Clover, It's the Great Storm, Tom the Dancing Bug, by Ruben Balling. This is Volume 8 of the complete Tom the Dancing Bug. If you've never read any Ruben Balling, I highly recommend really picking anything up. These books are all probably pretty available. There's a couple of older collections that aren't fantastic, but the work inside them is fantastic. Yeah, he's great, and he's a political cartoonist, but he approaches it from a much different way than just a standard sort of editorial cartoonist. And not all of this stuff is political, you know. I mean, he gets off into flights of fancy as well. But anyway, great strip. Really, really brilliant cartoonist, I think. And I can't imagine there's much of an audience for this stuff, so I'm really happy that they have committed to printing this much of his work. Thought I would mention this for the people who maybe pulled the trigger on Volume 1 from D.C. Thompson, Star Blazer Volume 2. It has early Grant Morrison. That's the reason to pay attention to it. I did not order the first book, but a friend of mine did, so I'm looking forward to grabbing his copy and seeing what the deal is. From Donald Grant Publishing, which I'm not familiar with. There is a reprint of Jeffrey Jones' Idol. This, I'm trying to remember, I guess, they ran in National Lampoon and Heavy Metal, these Idol I'm Age strips, 96 pages, oversized, 9x12. I think that's bigger than the original book was. And this book is long out of print. I don't think it goes for huge prices, but it's still not something you're going to see every day. And Jeffrey Jones is one of the old studio artists. Anyway, worth looking at for sure. But just thought I'd point it out. Even though it is not a new book, it is a new version of an old book. And then from Fantagraphics, as usual, I'll cover most of their stuff. The big news, Hate Revisited #1 by Peter Bagge. This is a 4-issue miniseries. It's going to be released as single issues first, from what I understand, pretty much because that's the way Peter Bagge wanted to do it. And so it should be fun just to get little 24-page comics. Most people, I think, have read Hate or the Buddy Bradley stuff in collections nowadays, but it is one of those series where the single issues are the best way to read those comics. Not just because of the story. I mean, the story you can read really in any format, doesn't matter, but because each of those single issues had letters pages and just, contests and dumb shit in there that really added to the reading experience. It's a lost thing from those 90s days. So anyway, it'll be exciting to see Hate back on the shelves. I guess the way this is working is it does take place in modern times, but he'll flash back to the glory days of Buddy Bradley. So you'll kind of get the best of both worlds, I hope. I haven't read it yet, but I heard it's very funny, very good. Looking forward to it. Hog Book and Laser Eyes by Maria Bamford and Scott Marvel Cassidy. So Maria Bamford has a Netflix series called Lady Dynamite. I've never seen it. I'd never heard of her. But they made a book together, and it's told through the point of view of their dogs. Which all sounds like sort of a mess that who would be interested in any of this shit. It's just some celebrity. But Scott Marvel Cassidy is an actual painter. He's an artist. And I have seen this book, and the cartooning looks really fun, really entertaining. So yeah, thought it was worth a mention. Shtick Figures, The Cool, The Comical, The Crazy by Drew Friedman. Another book of his caricatures, portraits, whatever you want to call them. Color and black and white, artists, musicians, comedians, runs the gamut. And this collection features the never-before collected 8-page comic strip R. Crumb and Me. So there you go, a little bit of extra material. Here's a graphic novel, Never Again Will I Visit Auschwitz, a graphic family memoir of trauma and inheritance by Ari Richter. I don't know anything about this book other than I've just seen the title a couple times. So, yeah, looking forward to laying eyes on it. Braba, a Brazilian comics anthology edited by Rafael Grampa and Janina de Luna. I have seen this in person, and it looks fantastic, frankly. Who knows how the stories actually are? I haven't read it yet, so stories could be shit, but the art throughout was really impressive, really looked good. Printed at 7.5 by 11. That's a nice big size. So, and then another anthology, Now Number 13, the new comics anthology, edited by Eric Reynolds. Let's see if it mentions anyone here. Noah Van Sciver, Roman Muradov, Josh Simmons, Stephen Weissman. So, the usual material. I imagine by now, if you've read any Nows, you've decided whether you liked it or not. But probably always worth at least checking out to see if there's something in there that appeals to you. From Fantagraphics Underground, Ready America by Anna Highfish. I've only read one book of hers, and I decidedly did not care for it. I think it was called The Artist. But God, a lot of people love her work, so don't listen to me. It's 48 pages, 9 by 11.75, so that's going to be a big size. Yeah, no idea. Don't know anything about it. I'll take a look at it when I see it in person, but the one example I have of her work I did not care for. This I'm very intrigued by. Kate Carew, America's First Great Woman Cartoonist, written by Eddie Campbell. He continues his sort of second act as a comics historian. So this is very exciting. Don't know how much it's going to be split between writing and actual strips, but either way, I'm in. Eddie Campbell's a pretty wonderful thinker of comics, on top of being one of the best cartoonists who's ever lived. All right, 319. So from First Second, this is a book, looks like it's for kids. Detective Sweet Pea Volume 1, The Case of the Golden Bone by Sarah Varon. Varon? We'll say Varon. Sarah Varon's been around a really long time. I know her most for a graphic novel she did a long time ago called Sweater Weather. Sort of a kind of cute kid style. The cover here looks even more simplistic than I remember her art being, which might be necessary if you're going to churn out 200-page books. But yeah, this is the sort of thing I will definitely check in and take a look at. Obviously, I'm not the intended market, but sometimes books for kids end up being pretty good books for adults, too. From Graphic Monday, a publisher that has been around for a while, but I'm not sure if I have anything by them. Everything Eventually Connects by Sarah Firth. This is a collection of 8 autobiographical visual essays. That kind of intrigued me. Also the cover, which you can see better here in this full-page ad. 8 essays on uncertainty. I went to her website, which I think is sarahthefirth.com. And I was able to see a few pages from this book. It looked intriguing. I don't know that I'll spring for it, but I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for it. I would like to take a look. From Hermes Press. This is an older book. Not old, but, I think last year. Offered again. Gladys Parker, A Life in Comics, A Passion for Fashion. It's a book written by Trina Robbins, but it has a ton of Gladys Parker art. Some of it is presented original art style, black and white, but printed in full color, so you can see all the work. Her panel cartoon Mopsy is a lot of fun, fantastic. I think this is really the only way you can get a Mopsy collection without paying a lot of money. Otherwise, you're buying collections that are decades old. So I was very happy this book came out. Gorgeous art. She was a really, really good cartoonist. I'm not sure how long she worked in comics, but yeah, glad to have this document for sure. Skipping ahead quite a bit. Manuscript Press. They have been publishing these Alley-Oop collections. Like the one here in the catalog is all the daily strips from 1962. And I don't know how many of these there have been, but I would guess around 20 or so. I have not been buying these. A friend of mine has. I'm a little jealous that I didn't stick it out. But I'm intrigued by this book here. Alley-Oop's First Time Travel Adventures, 1939 to 1942. So the originally Alley-Oop was just a caveman comic, and then at a certain point a time-traveling scientist comes back to prehistory and scoops him up, and from there Alley-Oop goes all over the place. And here he's in the Trojan War. He joins Ulysses' Odyssey, visits Cleopatra, sails the Spanish Main, plunges into World War II, and more. And this is a oversized hardcover, 10 by 13, 424 pages. It's a hefty $100, but it does sound like a very interesting book. Yeah, 4 complete years of beautifully restored strips from 1939 to 1942. So just thought I'd point that out. Alley-Oop is one of those strips that's really beautiful and really readable, but there have not been tons of modern collections other than what Manuscript Press has done. And it's almost a miracle that this is happening, because I can't imagine there's a huge market out there for it, unfortunately. From Pantheon Books, Rescue Party hardcover. So this was the result of the Instagram account of Desert Island, Brooklyn's celebrated alternative comic shop. He put out a call for stories during the pandemic, and tons of people submitted short comics. And this is going to be a collection of 140 notable entries from the Rescue Party project. This thing's 192 pages, 8 by 11, nice big size, full color. So interested to see what's in this. It doesn't really list any of the artists, so I think most of the artists who submitted things were amateurs, unknowns. That could be very good, it could be very bad, or it could be a mix, much like all anthologies. From Paper Cuts, the Smurfs Olympic Special. So the Olympics are going on this summer in Paris, and they're going to celebrate that by releasing a Smurfs story, 32 pages, celebrating the Olympics. This is from 1979. I don't know if it's all by Peyo, the original Smurfs artist, but I'm hoping so, and I'm going to pick it up. It's just a $4 comic, so nothing too special, but I love the original Peyo Smurf comics. The opposite end of the spectrum, Penthouse number 3. I have not read the first issue yet, but I did receive it, and have to admit, a lot of the art in there looked better than I expected. So I'll try to give it a read, decide if I want to continue or not. I'm not super excited about the idea, but maybe I'll be so intrigued by the contents that I will be powerless. From Pushkin Press, Completely Kafka by Nicholas Mahler. So Pushkin Press is they're a literary publisher, and the only other comics I'm aware of they're ever publishing is a manga collection called Kafka. I did a short video about that a ways back, you can find pretty easily, and that was a manga that I really, really enjoyed personally. It was just adaptations of Kafka stories by this mangaka. So this is basically a biography, I believe. Yeah. Illustrates the major and minor details that formed his life. So this is a biography by Nicholas Mahler. Nicholas Mahler is a kind of a fun cartoonist, and he's done several sort of literary adaptation kind of work. He has a real minimalist style, but I do like his work, and I like the subject enough that this one's a must-read for me. From Rebellion, the 2000 AD art of Steve Dillon, Apex edition. So this is I think the fourth. It's Apex edition is their version of the artist editions. They've done Brian Boland, Mick McMahon, Kevin O'Neill, and now Steve Dillon. I think that's it. So this is the Steve Dillon version. I love Steve Dillon's art. I don't have any connection to these stories particularly, and I won't be picking this book up, but hopefully a friend of mine will, and I'll get to check it out. But yeah, wouldn't mind seeing a Steve Dillon Hellblazer book, but that probably won't happen. Thought I'd just also mention the other ones that are available. The Kevin O'Neill, the Mick McMahon, and this is a nice little surprise here. The Judge Dredd one, which was out of print essentially the day it came out. This is the Masterpiece edition. So this is looks like the same format as IDW's Artisan editions, which are the smaller paperback version. So this is a 9x12 soft cover, and it's only $40, which I know isn't cheap, but the big version will cost you a lot more. This book is a stunner, not surprisingly. Anything by Boland would be, but yeah, pretty amazing stuff. And so I would highly recommend going for this if it is within your means and within your areas of interest. Most Americans, we would pronounce this Slain, the Horned God. I want to say the correct pronunciation is something like Slane. Someone maybe will correct me in the comments if I'm messing that up. But Slane, the Horned God Anniversary Edition. They have two. So here's the normal one. It's a trade paperback, 10x14, $55, which isn't cheap. And this story is pretty available. I feel like you could find this online for cheaper than that, but I'm sure this will be a nice big book. 10x14 is bigger than it's ever been reprinted before. The slipcase is 11x14. It says printed at a size that more closely matches the actual artwork. So probably not at actual original art size, but pretty close. And Simon Bisley, I guess I should mention that. Written by Pat Mills, drawn by Simon Bisley. This is sort of the most famous story featuring the Slane character. Bisley's art is phenomenal in this. It's just great. I have read this, though it's been a while. I can't say much has stuck with me. But I do remember how beautiful Bisley's art is, if you like that sort of thing. In somewhat the same vein, The Complete Wally Wood from Wits End, published by Vanguard Publications, J. David Spurlock's company. So Fantagraphics published a complete Wits End, the whole anthology, but this is just Wally Wood's work from that anthology. I think The Wizard King was his what he's mainly known for in that, but it also has Sally Forth, Pipsqueak Papers, Lunar Tunes, so some good stuff. Has a slipcase edition, or there's a standard edition. Yeah, if that you're interested in that, that's a pretty good place to pick that up. Uncivilized Books, publishing a collection of The Sickness, written by Jenna Cha and Lonnie Nadler, drawn by Jenna Cha. I don't really know much about the series other than a lot of people have really enjoyed it, so I thought I would mention it. Uncivilized, good publisher, and this was published in single issues. I'm not sure how many issues it took to do this, and I'm not sure if this is all of it or if this is just a volume 1, but I'm sure you could go online and figure that out. The art looks pretty good. So there you go. I'm recommending something I know nothing about, as per usual. In the manga section, Stalwarts, Fist of the North Star, Volume 13. I think, my friend Ray will correct me in the comments if I'm misspeaking. I think this is 18 volumes, and so we're up to number 13. Gorgeous stuff, and nice looking books on top of it. Mao, Volume 17 by Rumiko Takahashi. No idea how much longer this is going, but I think it's pretty close to current. And it's a smaller investment per month. Frustratingly, a book that's been resolicited at least twice, They Were 11 by Moto Hagio. I've ordered this a couple times, had it canceled a couple times, so we'll see. I typed it in at Amazon, and it is listed to come out in a few months, so we'll see what happens. But Fanta has published several Moto Hagio books. I'm curious to see what this one looks like. We will see. And that was it for me. If you have any thoughts or comments on any of those things, I would love to hear them. If you think I didn't include something that I should have, let me know that too. All right, thanks.